The last speaker for the day will be Amruta from ARC. She's an analyst. Her expertise in automation technologies include distributed control systems, SCADA, manufacturing execution systems, process safety, and field instruments, such as pressure transmitters, level measurement devices, control valves, and regulators. She has conducted capital expenditure analysis and customized strategy assignments, market expansion, market opportunity assessment for global and domestic companies. Amrita holds an MBA from Alliance Business School and a BTech in Industrial and Production Engineering from VTU. Please welcome Amrita on stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A lot has been talked about IIoT, and I'd like to do the same. But my report on IoT maturity and users' perspective is based on survey data collected from more than 80 industrial companies in India. Now, the reason behind doing this survey was to answer a few fundamental questions. Is the industry in India ready to adopt IoT? And do they have the capabilities to do so? Now, enterprises have started their journey on IoT. They are expanding their capabilities and rebuilding their models. And such industries will have the right technology and the organization culture. But a majority of the industries, the companies that we see, have just started their IoT journey. And fortunately, it's not a all or nothing or a do or die kind of situation, because this transition to IoT can be done in an incremental manner. And we in ARC have created an IIoT maturity model to help such companies in their transition. This helps them in understanding where they are right now, where they'd like to get to, and what are the technical capabilities that are needed. Now you can see this respondent profile. Most of the responses were from end users, and it has a good mix of both process and discrete industries. This is the IoT maturity model across the 6 dimensions. And as you can see, it consists of decision making, digital information, process and production processes, fixed assets, systems infrastructure, and cybersecurity. Now we asked the respondents to rate their capabilities across all these 6 dimensions, which includes both plant level and the enterprise-wide capabilities. So this gives us a good indication of the responsiveness and the capabilities of for IoT opportunity. So first one is operational decision making. As this dimension is concerned with both the organization culture and the technology, and this was also mentioned by one of our speakers who said that what is IoT is incomplete without the people. So as you can see, the maturity of the decision making varies from most basic, that is decisions based on instinct and intuition, to a more integrated approach where a lot of data is collected from different sources. Now we have around 40% of the respondents who have collected data from both internal and external sources. That includes events, operations, customers, and others in the supply chain. Next is use of digital information across the organization. This dimension is also concerned with the, it also requires cultural, organizational cultural change and technological capabilities, because IoT can be used to collect data and disseminate it widely and more efficiently across the organizations. As you can see from the top 3 rows, most of the respondents have moved away from the common spreadsheet analysis, and they are using advanced technologies to share information. So in such organizations, there is more widespread and more collaborative way of sharing information. If you see the first 2 bars, these are the companies which are either using big data and advanced analysis, or they are having a strong 2-way information flow between plant and business processes. Now, next we come to the production processes. How well are the production processes, production operations and processes integrated with business demands and needs? Now, as you can see, on one extreme, we have processes which are entirely manual driven, and on the other hand, we have processes that are fully synchronized that is around 28%. And around 28% of the respondents have said that they have a partially synchronized processes. Now, poorly coordinated processes lead to a lot of delays and errors, and this raises the cost unnecessarily. So over time, we'll see a lot of organizations migrating towards a more synchronized and integrated approach to processes because of rising market pressures and demands from the customers. Next is how are the fixed assets managed? How intelligent and connected are the assets in your organization? Because data from these intelligent assets can be fed into predictive algorithms to get predictive maintenance alerts, and that is already being done by about 35% of the respondents. As you can see, there's around 40% of the respondents are using assets which are instrumented only for control purposes. This presents a significant opportunity for IoT implementation, because ARC has done a research on asset management, and we have found that the traditional preventive maintenance is effective for only about 20% of the assets, and the rest 80% fail at random intervals. So this is where IoT can enable predictive maintenance, and it can help to improve the performance of large fixed assets in your plant, to improve their productivity, to eliminate the unplanned downtime, and to cut maintenance costs. The next dimension is systems and infrastructure. Now, for widespread use of IoT, we need a more modern, flexible, and agile infrastructure that uses emerging technologies like the cloud. Now, most of the systems and infrastructures that you see here are traditional and conservative, and they may not have the flexibility and the agility required to integrate into large-scale IoT applications. So currently, we see that only about 13% of the respondents are using services like cloud and other next-generation platforms. And we expect that cloud-based services will be providing a more easier solution for connecting disparate technologies, assets, and even people across boundaries. The last dimension is to do with cybersecurity. Now, the business managers and the cybersecurity experts have to understand the impact of such increasing connectivity through mobility, there's cloud, there's IoT, and they have to redefine their approach accordingly, because this kind of increasing connectivity requires a more broader and a more robust cybersecurity approach. And this kind of a broader approach would include external systems, cloud systems, remote devices. There should be more emphasis on device-centric security and security by design devices. And there has to be a shift from the management silos to IT/OT security. The diagram here it's a multi-dimensional view of cybersecurity, and it's slightly complicated because there are different assets that you can see here. That is your cybersecurity for ICS, your industrial control systems, you have for IT, you have for third-party security, you have intelligent assets, and for mobile devices. So this is what ARC expects to be the future, could be the future of cybersecurity solutions and the approach that the concerned people have to adopt. Now, next is the organization's viewpoint, the respondents' viewpoint on IoT. This is very interesting. Only about 3.1% of the respondents are already using IoT. We have about 20% who are investing in IoT, which is either live or it is going to be live soon. And there are about 55% of the respondents who are either monitoring developments in this IoT landscape, or they are just evaluating the potential benefits. So now we'll see what are the capabilities of the users of IoT in these three categories. So this is the IoT maturity model that ARC has developed, and we can see that the early adopters of IoT applications, they demonstrate stronger capabilities across all the 6 dimensions. Now, if we compare the users across the 3 IoT segments, who are using IoT, who are investing, and who are monitoring or evaluating, we see that there is less difference in the decision making and their business processes and their production process. But we see that companies who are still monitoring and evaluating the potential benefits have to expand their capabilities in digital information flow, in improving their intelligence of their fixed assets, making their systems more systems and infrastructure more agile, and also strengthening their cybersecurity. Now, what are the current and potential factors that are inhibiting the growth of IoT? We see that lack of clarity on return on investment tops the list. The ability of the suppliers to justify and to determine ROI is very important to users. The next is lack of technology standardization. There are a lot of technologies and suppliers, IoT suppliers who are providing IoT solutions, and each of them have widely differing standards and competing standards. So it's difficult to say which standards are going to prevail in future and which are going to support all the interoperability issues. The next is security concerns. Security is an important factor, and it's also an enabler of IoT. So this requires more involvement from the suppliers for sustaining security in their systems and their solutions. Now, which of the areas are the users currently evaluating the potential for IoT or have IoT projects? Majority of them are investing in production and operation processes, in improving the supply chain, in personal productivity, and asset utilization. And as you can see, the users who are evaluating IoT encompasses almost all the regions. This should give a good idea of the suppliers where the investment is going. Now, what are the main selection criteria when users are selecting IoT solution providers? As you can see, some of the top selection criteria are also the concerns that users expressed that are inhibiting their adoption of IoT. And that includes the price, technology, security, and so forth. And these are the areas where suppliers had to pay more attention. And also, users expect suppliers to solve the interoperability issues when working with legacy systems. Now, some recommendation for users: be aware of what's happening in the IoT landscape and and use it whenever the opportunity arises. Build a roadmap for your initial projects. Identify those areas in the IoT maturity diagram where you need improvement and work on those areas. Future-proof your projects to mitigate risk. Now, as I said, a lot of technologies and vendors which are coming into the market, and we are not sure which are going to sustain. So take advantage of open standards and sources whenever it makes sense to mitigate your risks. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.